Guys, if you haven't seen The Rise of Skywalker, turn away now as there will be spoilers ahead. Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. It's a mess. I've been relatively vocal about my opinion on Star Wars movies, and I recognise that I don't exactly share the common or popular opinion, and that's fine, I know that. An example of this being my absolute love of The Last Jedi. Now, I've described The Last Jedi as this: a great movie and Star Wars story, but an awful franchise movie. And specifically, I think that's why people hate it so much. But we're not here to just talk about The Last Jedi, we are here to talk about the sequel trilogy as a whole. So, let's start with episode 7, The Force Awakens. In my opinion, it was a little bland, nothing overly exciting or new, but a very solid and good start to a new trilogy, linking in nicely with the originals. In my opinion, I would not have made Snoke a new character, we'll get on to what I mean later, as I know technically he's not. The main characters were interesting, they had very optimistic future stories to be told. An ex-stormtrooper who may or may not be force sensitive, another flashy pilot, you can never get too many of them, and finally an extremely powerful, mysterious scavenger who's good at fighting, flying, and very force sensitive. Not forgetting Kylo Ren and his interesting arc with his parents. The Last Jedi. As said, I think it's fantastic, a step up from The Force Awakens, but a terrible franchise movie. Rian Johnson completely threw out these great setups in episode 7 in a bid to get across a message. A good message, yes. One saying that you don't have to be special to make a difference. You don't have to be part of a certain bloodline. But that message meant that the story had almost come to a halt. I liked Kylo and Rey's relationship, I liked Snoke's death, and this idea of them coming together even. But interestingly, I felt the messages and storylines explored in episode 8 needed to be saved for the final chapter. What better message is there to have closing out this franchise, one inspiring generations, and that closing shot of the boy with the broom after hearing about the once again legendary Luke Skywalker as he came back to face the First Order would have been perfect for the end, not a middle movie, making it very awkward for J.J. Abrams to continue that story, and it was very awkward. Episode 9 then, The Rise of Skywalker. I've released my non-spoiler review, and since then I've seen it once more, and I enjoyed it a little more the second time around, but it had problems, big problems. The Emperor is back, that wasn't your original plan, was it, JJ? Rey is a Palpatine, you didn't want this. A great pilot, powerful in the Force, and a great duelist, all traits Skywalkers have. You wanted a different ending. The Rise of Skywalker felt rushed, because episode 8 left nothing to continue, it pretty much finished the story. Hence why I think it would have made a perfect end to the franchise. We just need the middle movie now, one that fleshes out Snoke a bit more before he's killed, and one that shows Rey training more and getting stronger in the Force despite constant failure on her part. Like Luke did, failing to save his friends, getting his hand chopped off. We need the failure for the success and power of Rey to be satisfying. As I briefly said earlier, I wouldn't have had Snoke as a new character and then changed to be the Emperor all along. In my opinion, granted we keep The Force Awakens as episode 7, Snoke should have been revealed to be Plagueis. We all know the story, it's not completely out of nowhere, and we know it's very possible for him to have survived and hid all these years. But that didn't happen. Individually, all of these movies are good. I can see why people love them, but they feel like they're all from different trilogies. The Force Awakens is one that sets up a new threat, slowly passing on the torch to a new set of characters as we say goodbye to the old. The Last Jedi is the final film in a trilogy that has fleshed out Luke's story previously and reinforcing the importance that anyone can be the hero. And finally, The Rise of Skywalker. It's the final chapter in a trilogy that has seen the return of the Emperor, possibly showing something along the lines of the Dark Empire comics and exploring the mystery and wondrous powers of the Force, dark and light. Individually, I can see them all being good, great even, but together they're a mess. Hence why I can understand the hate they get as well, as they contradict each other, as if they're trying to one-up each other. JJ said, "This is how I think the Star Wars sequels should be done," and Rian Johnson said, "No, this is how I think it should be done." And then JJ said, "No, I'm going to go back to how I want it done, but I suppose I'm going to have to try and deal with what you've done now." In conclusion, together they are a mess and they needed direction from the very beginning. But you can still enjoy these films individually, like I do. I try and do this with every movie I watch. I gauge how much I like it as a solo venture, and then as part of the franchise it's within. My favourite would have to be The Last Jedi, with The Force Awakens second and The Rise of Skywalker last, but that's not to say I hate any of them. I enjoy all of them, it's just unfortunate they are all part of the same trilogy. I feel like if you understand what I mean in this video, you would agree with me, as the problems we have with each movie comes from the other ones not really extending the story further and explaining it. We just have to accept certain characters are the way they are, or certain things occur the way they do. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, see you next time.